I'm not sure what crawled up my mother-in-law's butt, but she and I got along so well before I got pregnant. She called me her daughter, came over to see me all the time, called me randomly just to talk, and told me she loved me all the time, etc. But after I got pregnant, something switched in her. She stopped calling. She never said, "I love you" back when I said it. And she only came over to see my husband. 9 times out of 10, it was trying to get him out of the house to go with her. She barely gives me a hello or a goodbye in passing. She even tried staying in the labor and delivery room after she was told no because her baby needs support, and clung to my husband's arm several times, trying to get him to go sit on the couch with her instead of standing by me where he was. Nurses kicked her out. Since I had my daughter a few months ago, she's come over a good 10 or 15 times and has literally only held the baby twice. She just follows my husband around everywhere and still tries to get him to leave with her to do chores, tasks for her, changing tires, changing oil, fixing her computer, moving around her house, etc., etc., etc. Honestly, none of that bothers me nearly as much as her comments about how my daughter looks nothing like me and looks exactly like her and my husband. For a bit of context, my husband looks nothing like his mom. He's a spitting image of his father. His mom is short, blonde, and has brown eyes. He is super tall with black hair and green eyes. You can't tell they're related at all, but she insists my daughter looks just like her and my husband, and nothing like me. She's made these comments more times than I can count, and I just give a "yeah, okay, Becky," and leave it. But yesterday I hosted a dinner for the family and obviously invited her. She shows up with a scrapbook album with photos of her and my husband from birth to now. She was showing and telling everyone who would listen that my daughter was basically not even mine if you go off of looks. My husband spoke up a few times with a clipped, "She actually looks just like my wife," but his mom didn't acknowledge him. But then she got to my mom, and my mom, being a no BS woman, said, "Are you blind, or are you just being ignorant? That girl looks just like my daughter and nothing like you." Kind of weird to me that you're desperately pushing the narrative that the baby looks like you and your son, considering your son looks nothing like you either. No one in the house said anything, but a few were chuckling. My husband also didn't say anything, but he looked more like a deer in headlights than anything. My mother-in-law then left. She texted my husband and me later, saying she would never forgive us for not defending her against my mom, making a scene, and embarrassing her in front of everyone. I don't feel bad, but my husband does. Am I the idiot? Edit. She has 4 kids. My husband is the youngest. He's 27. Her 2 daughters have 1 child each. Her other son has 5 kids. She takes her daughter's kids once a month. She's never made a conscious effort with her other son's kids. She doesn't act like this with her other kids at all. She acts uninterested altogether. Ages: mother-in-law is 61. My mom is 44. My husband and I are both 27. Here's your answer. The mother-in-law is feeling pushed out, and this situation speaks loud and clear about where she stands with your family. She seems to be trying to reassert herself as part of the family with your husband. She's doing it all the wrong ways, but this is what it sounds like to me. Your mother-in-law's generation has a terrible time communicating in general, and she seems to be falling directly into the path of passive aggression. However, none of this makes you the idiot. I agree, her inner thoughts are focused on herself, that she isn't the mom anymore, and that her son now has a family unit of his own, rather than him adding OP to her family unit, where she was still the primary. She wants very badly to make herself the nucleus again. I wish people could gracefully accept natural changes. She could have chosen to accept being a grandma and a supportive, valued elder that everyone is pleased to see and will miss. But if she keeps going this way, she'll be the one whose name makes folks cringe and secretly feels relieved when she isn't around. My mother-in-law is doing weird stuff to her youngest child, my husband, right after I got pregnant. Jesus God, It's so freaking common, and it's super strong when the new father-to-be is the baby of the family. My grandmother was pulling this nonsense back in the 1970s. Your mom is the boss. She defended her baby. She called a spade a spade. If you would have done anything, the mother-in-law would have gaslit the heck out of you. My girlfriend, 29, and I am 29, were going to host Thanksgiving dinner last year. We had everything planned, and we invited our closest family members, her parents, my siblings, and my sister's family. Unfortunately, we had some health issues concerning my girlfriend's pregnancy. Even though she was 31 weeks pregnant, just a few days before Thanksgiving, she had to have an emergency C-section. I won't go into too much detail with that since it's irrelevant, but the thing is that we canceled dinner and my girlfriend and our baby had to be in the hospital for a bit. My girlfriend and I decided to stay home during Christmas and New Year's Eve dinner too, as she was still recovering from the surgery, and we honestly didn't feel like doing much. However, since she's now feeling better, she thought it would be a good idea to have a family dinner to make up for all our missed holidays this year. Long story short, we planned a dinner for yesterday. My girlfriend and I are vegan. Usually, she doesn't mind being around cooked meat too much, but we prefer not to have it in our home. My sister, 35, is married and has 2 kids, both boys under 10. My girlfriend and I cooked for everyone, and when our families came, my sister's husband asked where the real food was. After we told him that we cooked all vegan dishes, my girlfriend, who is still a little oversensitive, became upset. So I took my family aside and kindly asked them not to make harsh comments like that. They said they'd be careful, and my sister's husband apologized. However, as I finished cooking some of our food, someone rang the bell. My sister said, "Oh, it must be the delivery for the kids," and yeah, it was. She had ordered fried chicken for her kids, since they surely wouldn't like what my girlfriend and I cooked. That caused a big argument between me and my sister since she didn't tell me she was ordering chicken, which I wouldn't have allowed. The discussion escalated, and I ended up asking my sister and her family to leave. After that, my parents also got upset with me and left. We ended up having dinner just with my in-laws and my brother. I feel like I did something wrong because now my parents and sister don't want to talk to me unless I apologize for being extreme. But I was only trying to keep my girlfriend comfortable and happy in her house. She had ordered fried chicken for her kids since they surely wouldn't like what my girlfriend and I cooked. They hadn't even tried it. This is so rude. And what is wrong with having your kids eat vegetables? If they were so sure their kids wouldn't like the food, they should have hired a babysitter, informed their hosts of their absence, and left them at home. You are not the idiot. Agreed. How dare you just offer them vegan burgers and fries? Well, fries aren't meat. It sounds like the kid's mom is the biggest problem, as she seems unwilling to have them try new foods. You are the idiot. Most of this could have been avoided by prefacing that you only serve vegan dishes beforehand. It's generally polite to inform your guests of the kind of food you're serving beforehand, regardless of whether it's vegan or not. Sure, your guests ordering takeout to your door is also kind of an idiot move, but the average under 10 basically runs on chicken. Everyone's reaction was a bit much, but kicking them out instead of having an adult conversation makes you a bigger idiot. Sister-in-law married my brother 10 years ago. They each had a daughter, both 18 now, from different relationships. My niece was excited by the idea of a sibling and a bigger family. She used to ask her dad to give her a sibling when she was still in preschool, and while she stopped asking, the wish remained. The fact she thought her stepsister was the coolest and best person ever made the excitement more palpable. But it was clear from early on that my step-niece did not view my niece in the same light. The girls were very different. Very early on, my niece became very demanding of my step-niece's time. My sister-in-law and brother were very eager to see them spend time together, so they encouraged my niece's demandingness and would scold my step-niece for wanting to make friends over her sister. I became concerned about how demanding my niece was being. She wouldn't even ask the step-niece if she wanted to do something. She would tell her. Neither my brother nor sister-in-law batted an eyelid. My step-niece would say no, and my niece would tell her that that wasn't an option. So I spoke about my concerns to my brother, and he told me he knew it was going to push his stepdaughter away in the future, but he also knew how much my niece wanted a sister and how much his wife wanted her daughter to accept her as a sister. So he wasn't going to get involved. A confrontation happened between my sister-in-law and step-niece a couple of years ago that the rest of us were made aware of. My sister-in-law told the step-niece that she would need to get used to having her sister in her life because when she grows up, she will have to make time for her, which is good practice for that. The step-niece told my sister-in-law that she could just not see her at all, and my sister-in-law said that wasn't a possibility, and she would always be part of the family. My step-niece turned 18 in July, and she moved out of my brother's and sister-in-law's house and hasn't been to visit or keep in touch with them since. My niece has tried to talk to her over DM or call, but she's ignored her, and maybe even blocked her in places. The only people this seemed to surprise were my sister-in-law and my niece. My niece cried for days and said she didn't understand, while my sister-in-law grumbled for months. But during Christmas, it was an all-time bad. She showed up to the family celebration we had on the 30th and was blasting her daughter to everyone, saying how surprising her actions were. A lot of the family moved away from her, but when she sat down next to me to do her vent, I told her only she and my niece were surprised, and the rest of us saw her daughter's actions coming a mile away. I brought up that their step-niece had even told her what she'd done 2 years ago, and she didn't believe her. My sister-in-law called me insensitive and told me nobody could have known a teenage girl was serious when she was having her little temper tantrum. She said most kids would never want to be away from their siblings or their families like that, and it's cruel for me to lie and claim otherwise. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Step-parents like her destroy their families by trying to force them to become more perfectly bonded than is reasonable. Every day here, there is a story of clueless parents trying to force stepkids to love their new relatives. Every day it ends in disaster. Every day, parents try to force their new family to blend into the fantasy family. You said the simple truth that she needed to hear, and somehow that makes you the bad guy. These people, you can't reach them. You can't reason with them. Your sister-in-law was so focused on getting her happily ever after that she turned into the evil stepmother for her own daughter. And worse, she was flat out told the consequences of her actions, and now she's all surprised that it's come true. Not to mention, there's no way your brother kept his mouth shut all those years unless she's already shut him down. She doesn't get to rewrite history or paint her daughter as the bad guy because she failed. The crap talking isn't going to help because some of that family is still in touch with her step-niece and is going to let her know what's going on. Yesterday, my girlfriend came over to my house and was supposed to sleep over. A little after she arrived, she told me she was cold and asked for a hoodie. Now my clothes are in my sister's room since almost all of our clothes look the same. Most of my sister's clothes are oversized and from the men's section since that's her style, and our mom kept getting confused about whose clothes are whose. So we just got a big closet for my sister's room. Her room is bigger, which is why it's in her room, and took my closet out of my room so I could have more space. I went to my sister's room and saw that the door was closed. We're not allowed to close the door unless we're changing or need quiet to study, so I knocked. But before she could answer me, my girlfriend just barged in. Luckily, my sister was just studying, but both of us were in shock. My girlfriend didn't even notice my sister and my discomfort and just opened the closet and started looking for a hoodie. My sister sarcastically told her, "Sure, you can go through my closet after barging in." My girlfriend snapped at her with a curse word or two, saying, "It's not just your closet. I have no idea where all of this came from." My girlfriend is usually very gentle, and this is the first time I heard her curse. But I wasn't going to sit there while she insults my sister. I took her by the hand, dragged her out of my sister's room, got her bag, took her out of my house, and waited with her in silence until her friend who lived close to me came to pick her up. We haven't talked since. I tried to text and call her to say sorry for overreacting and trying to talk to her about why she treated my sister like that, but she hasn't answered me. I feel really bad about how I reacted, but I'm also mad about how she treated my sister. Am I the idiot? My house feels so much more spacious now that I took out all bathrooms other than one half bath. Your parents decided having you and your sister sharing a closet seemed like a good idea to you, but you aren't allowed to close your bedroom doors. Yet you can have boyfriend and girlfriend sleepovers. There is just so much to unpack here. Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't blame your girlfriend if this was the straw that broke the camel's back. OP's house rules are so bizarre and insistent that maybe she was on her last nerve with this much weirdness and ready to break up anyway. Everyone's the idiot here. Your girlfriend, for how she acted, barging into someone's room, helping herself, cursing at your sister, etc. Your part is how you reacted. Next time, with your next girlfriend, use your big boy words. Tell her she was wrong, why she cannot do that. Talk to her about how you expect guests in your place to act, how family is to be treated, etc. And of course, if you have to, then tell her that the night is over. Just grabbing her stuff and pulling her out of the house was not how to deal with the situation. And do your own laundry and keep your clothes in your room. My 58-year-old self, a female, had a son when I was 42 and still a high school student. I wasn't ready to be a parent and instead put him up for open adoption. The little family that adopted him would send me birthday and holiday cards, but that was as much as I was involved. I was terrified when the baby was diagnosed with some issue with the nerve in his eye and was blind from it. I felt like I'd done something wrong or caused it. I also felt so relieved I got to move on and live my life. I went to college, built a career, all the while feeling this immense relief when this family would write to tell me about his first Braille typewriter or whatnot, that I didn't have to deal with this. And then I've always felt guilty for being relieved. I'm now married and have 2 daughters, 32 and 28, with my husband. They've always known that I had another child who was adopted. My daughters have also always been interested in fostering this connection. I've always suggested we leave him alone to live his life without my knowing. My oldest sought him out on Facebook, of all places. Through her, she's brought him in to be involved with the family for the past few years. While they may have had an instant connection, I feel embarrassed to say I just haven't. I'm happy to know that he's doing well in life. He's getting married this spring and has a doctoral degree in physics. It's all very nice to be proud of, but it's like learning about a stranger. I certainly don't feel like his mother. This Thanksgiving, we hosted, and all 3 of my children were present. My son follows a guide dog to get around, but he often takes off the harness and lets the dog play with the other family dogs when he's over. That day was much the same. I gave the dog some scraps and didn't think anything more of it. Several days later, it turns out that his dog was at the emergency vet hospital and had some issues with maybe its pancreas and also a possible bone trapped in its intestine. They decided to take the dog to surgery to search for it and have it removed. My daughter immediately asked if I had given the dogs anything and was furious with me for giving them some table scraps. She is adamant that I caused this issue and that I should be offering to pay. I did reach out to my son to offer to pay. He said that was kind, but he had it covered. I told him I didn't want him to worry financially because I knew it could be challenging for him to keep employment given his condition. All he said was that he has pet health insurance, so after the deductible, he only paid 10%, and he's completely capable of paying for it. We left it at that. My daughter is still now refusing to bring her dogs to my home, calling me irresponsible. She blames me and feels like I never take responsibility for the harm I cause. But I cannot pay if she refuses to take my money. OP, if you didn't check what table scraps you were giving the dogs and it was dangerous to the dogs, you should be counting your lucky stars you're not paying vet bills for 3 dogs. You are the idiot. I'm on your daughter's side. As a side note, you also seem a little resentful that your daughter reached out to her half-brother. You are not obligated to have a relationship with your son, but your children have a right to form a relationship with their brother if they'd like. Not to mention, it feels like she looks down on him for being blind. I don't know, OP, you just have a bad vibe. Because I know it can be hard for him to keep employment given his condition. Yeah, the dude has a PhD in physics. I can't even imagine learning that while being blind. I think he's more than capable. It's the I was just doing my thing, doing something with other people's animals without asking, causing damage, and I don't even like my son. Why is everyone mad at me? Vibe. Yuck. The dude is lucky to be adopted by his little family. Poor little OP. Everyone is ganging up on her.